Due to the craziness of the backlash and protests in Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu decided to halt judicial reform proceedings for now. Just one problem though, it seems like the protesters in Israel don't even really know what they are protesting for. I'm Ben, and this is the Israel Guys. Welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Guys, there's a lot that's been going on this week. Luke and Josh flew back to the States here to do a series of rallies in Nashville and also Dallas and Houston. The rallies have been going off amazing. I went to Nashville earlier on this week for that rally there, and it was really incredible. We had a lot of people turn out showing their support for Judea and Samaria, showing their support for Israel. It's a really neat event. Apologies to all of you here on the channel. We were planning on doing a live stream. We'd put out adverts for a live stream we were going to do on Sunday. We had a major failure with our video switcher that we had for the live stream itself. At the last minute, had a major failure and weren't actually able to pull off doing the live event. But we did film it, and we are working on that footage now, and hopefully we'll be able to release the event as a pre-recorded on the channel sometime soon. So we'll keep you posted on that. But yeah, sorry, things have been a little bit crazy. Luke and Josh did not do shows that we were able to release this week. But Josiah and Justin and one of our producers and Israel David went to a protest earlier this week in Tel Aviv and filmed interviews with some of the protesters asking what they were there for and what they were actually protesting for, and the results are kind of telling. So I want to go through this with you here together on camera.
We are here to make sure that Netanyahu's anti-democratic schemes will fail.
Fighting for the democracy. We're also fighting for the women rights. Yeah.
Protest.
To protest what?
For democracy.
For democracy?
Yeah.
It's obvious. To protest.
You want to tell us why you're here?
Oh, not now. I'm so tired.
You can't?
So far we have protesting women's rights and just this vague idea of protesting for democracy. It's really, really kind of interesting. Very little mention of actually the judicial reform.
All right, guys, we are here in the heart of Tel Aviv. We're actually on Democracy Street, Dizengoff Street, and we are here at the protests These protests have been happening for the last 14 weeks. People have been gathering. Some news sources have said 200,000 people have been gathering across Israel in these big cities to protest. What they are saying is the end of democracy. My question is, do these people actually know what they are protesting against? And we're gonna find out today. We're gonna go around. I got my mic here, and we're gonna ask people why they're here and what they're protesting against. What? Just curious, like, what exactly are you against?
You know, they want to appoint their own judges and take rights from minorities. So we're fighting for our country that we really, really love.
The judicial reform that the government is trying to make, it seems very inconsiderate and not taking in consideration major voices in Israel, in our society.
The democracy in the state of Israel is in immediate danger, and the participation of the public in the decisions and the defense on human rights in this country are in immediate danger.
It's the judicial reform. That's right now, that is the core issue. However, this is only one piece in a more general plan that they have to take over democracy.
And it's always an agenda when some politicians want to change a system really swiftly. There is an agenda.
Right.
And I'm going to say it in a hint. We all know what happened in 1933.
Yeah.
I think everybody will guess the hints.
Yeah.
So it was a radical change. It was the democratic elections in 1933 in Europe somewhere, and The rest is history.
Guys, real quick before we continue, the 8-day holiday of Passover, which is coming up, celebrates the redemption of the Jewish people from slavery. Before starting the Passover Seder, we are reminded to take action and invite all who are hungry to come and eat and to redeem those who are not free. But if Israel's needy are struggling to put food on the table, how will they celebrate Passover, the festival of freedom? It's very difficult to feel free if you are hungry. There are over 2.6 million Israelis living in poverty in Israel. Almost 1.2 million of them are children, representing 38% of all children in Israel. Meir Panim runs multiple programs to help Israel's needy, including restaurant-style soup kitchens, a dignified alternative to traditional soup kitchens, providing warm meals to impoverished Israelis in a comfortable dining setting. But many struggling Israelis can't take time off their multiple jobs in order to pick up food from one of the 5 branches across Israel. To ensure that families, especially children, are not hungry, Meir Panim distributes monthly grocery packages to those families who need it the most. When living with the constant uncertainty of where their next meal will come from, a monthly grocery package will ease the immediate needs of Israel's hungry and free them from the daily struggles of food insecurity. This Passover, you can give Israel's needy the freedom they have been longing for by donating monthly grocery packages today. Donate now and help Israel's hungry taste freedom. Link is in the description below.
It's not easy to be Israeli citizen where your own prime minister and your minister call you names, right? They name you names and they regard you as an enemy.
That's why we're here for, to protest and defend our rights, and that Israel will continue to be a democratic country.
I believe that we are in a state of losing our democracy, that the rights of many people will be lost or be looked down upon or will be undermined.
Also, one of the things that we're fighting for as a woman, with my child, and obviously I have a daughter also, is for women's rights, and my husband as well. It's for women's rights, because we see that a lot of the new legislation is actually against equality in general, against the gay community, against women, and against minorities.
There's an overall, a government overall that we're not accepting. We're going to stay democracy with a judicial system that overrules the government where needed. That's how democracy works.
So, really interesting stuff here. Obviously, the protesters, for the most part, are not there to protest judiciary reform directly. And if they are, it's kind of this vague term that they're throwing out there. You know, at the end of the day, there's a million opinions as to what these protests and this huge, absolute outpouring of backlash, over this judicial reform is all about. In my opinion, I think it's just kind of a continuation of the polarization that Israel's been seeing in the last 10, 15 years. A polarization that's mirrored in a lot of Western countries right now. We see this huge divide, this big rift in between a black and white viewpoint of, either being very hard right or very hard left, and a very much an unwillingness to meet in the middle, for better or worse. And Israel very much is just kind of continuing along that trend. Over the last couple of years, Israel's seen a multitude of elections, I think over 4 elections in the last couple of years. And you have to remember that Israel is a parliamentary democracy in a way where, unlike the United States, where we elect a president and then they have power for 4 years, and then we elect another president, and they're held by the checks and balances of the Supreme Court and of the Congress. In Israel, it's a parliamentary democracy. So when a party gets the votes to take power, they have to form a coalition inside of the parliament, or in Israel, the Knesset, and they have to hold that coalition together. And so if members of the coalition get enough backlash from their constituents, then they can drop out of the coalition and the government falls apart and it goes back to elections. And so in the last couple of years, we've seen, the couple of governments take power through elections, and they haven't been able to actually hold a coalition together, therefore losing power and bringing in another cycle of elections. And so in this most recent election, the conservative movement inside of Israel took an enormous amount of power. This is one of the most right-wing governments I think that Israel's really ever seen in their history, with the coalition between Likud and also Ben Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich. It's a tremendous right-wing government, and so Netanyahu saw this as a good time to push through the judicial reform that Israel really, really needs. But with that, with the conservative movement using the power that they've been voted in, that they have been given through democratic vote, the left really is freaking out. And the left in Israel, it's not a freak out over judiciary reform per se. It's more of a freaking out over the conservative movement having power in general. It's kind of freaking out over the idea of having such a strong right-wing government and where they could go from here. And so I think there's a lot of people on the hard left in Israel who've really been stirring up protesters and just using general terms like the right's coming after women's rights, and they're coming after gay rights, and they're coming after, minority rights. They're coming after secularism, and they're going to take power, and this is going to turn into a dictatorship. And like that one guy was hinting, he was kind of hinting at, this is like, pre-Holocaust Nazi Germany and all these other catchphrases that are being thrown out. This is kind of just a stirring up that's been happening in the media, been happening, in hard left circles, where they're just kind of throwing out buzzwords, throwing out, these catchphrases that are kind of setting people off. And those in Israel who are, more secular, more liberally inclined are turning out to the streets to protest. And as we can see, most of them really don't even know what they're protesting for. So this is a good reminder, guys, to pray for Israel, pray for their future, pray that there will be unity in between the left and right in Israel, and also pray that at some point Benjamin Netanyahu, after Passover, will be able to, slowly, maybe if need be, push through these much-needed judiciary reform inside of Israel to make Israel a stronger democracy, to make them a democracy that actually has the checks and balances between the Supreme Court and the Knesset, but this will go through at a pace that the Israeli public can't handle. Like we said at the beginning, for now, Netanyahu has decided to turn down the heat and put this whole thing on the back burner. But, as far as we can tell, I don't think he has any plans to shelve this for good. Subscribe to get the conversation going down below. As always, tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. We'll be back every day, Monday through Friday, with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.